Welcome back. The good news is that in Chicago PD Season 11 Episode 2, Hailey largely gave us a break. The bad news is that Ruzek decided to maintain his level of stubbornness throughout the entire episode. Which unit is it, the intelligence or the anti-intelligence? Because, God bless them, there are times when some of our favorite squad members are just plain foolish. Compared to the first episode of Chicago PD Season 11, the second installment was better. It was also clear that the two should have been inverted. By concentrating on Ruzek while he battled to take time off work, this episode would have made a smoother transition into the upcoming season. It wasn't a very interesting television show, but it would have flown more naturally if we'd seen this one first. However, it was still a difficult sell, mostly since the majority of what they were providing was predictable due to the series' increasing repetition. Even while there's still action and a sense of darkness and intensity that may keep you riveted to the screen, it doesn't detract from the fact that the same basic themes and concepts are being recycled. Because Adam Ruzek was involved in a case he shouldn't have been, we had to witness him act irresponsibly, ignore everyone, and jeopardize his career and future. And we were forced to witness Voight covering for one of his own for the nth time. Is Hailey Upton's involvement in a narrative involving a cover-up being avoided? Yes, but the plot remains the same, and it's time to wrap it up. How frequently can we watch as Voight intervenes to cover up an action taken by one of the unit members that they have no business taking? This is nothing new to us. This specific story element cannot be saved, nor can it be excitingly revived. The horse is dead, covered with blood. The hour concluded just as we had anticipated. Being a confidential informant for the intelligence unit has no advantages. Confidential informants must die, according to one of the Chicago Police Department's tenets. From the minute we found out he was Ruzek's CI, Zako didn't have a snowball's chance in hell of surviving, and the more involved he became in the case, the more obvious it became. These are the reasons the hour was deficient. It was still pleasant to follow up with Adam Ruzek after the shoot, though, and he was not doing entirely well, as one might imagine. We were treated to some amazing Ruzek moments in this installment, as well as their tamed existence together. The shippers were undoubtedly thrilled, and they can feel safe in the knowledge that they are still going strong and appear to be in the best health of their lives together. Knowing that Ruzek makes a good coupling is a comfort, especially in light of how badly the other ship in this series turned out. Still, Ruzek's life was unbalanced. Not having the job to go back to was eating away at him, even if things were fantastic at home, and he was pleased to be a loving and supportive spouse and father who contentedly sat through adorable family meals together. Ruzek has long been known to view his work as his mission. He hasn't even given thought to a life in which he isn't a police officer. For Ruzek, losing the job is akin to losing a leg, and he finds it difficult to accept. It was wearing him down to have to repeat the tedious process of going back to the field. It didn't help that the officer doing the examination was one of those jackasses. That Ruzek was the type who seemed to have trouble with the exam component of the reread process was not surprising. He has always been an instinctive and proactive man. He approaches the work in an emotional and instinctive manner. It was something that came easily to him, rather than something he had to learn and study. However, we discovered that Ruzek tends to fill the hole left by the work with risky endeavors. When he got out of bed in the middle of the night to play poker, it was unsettling. But when he turned up at this sleazy bar for some illicit gaming with a bunch of gangsters and hoodlums, things got even worse. It was an amazing scenario when the ripoff happened just as he won, especially when the bullets started flying and left two bodies behind. The Bala brothers' dash inside proved it was undoubtedly an inside job as well. While it's not unusual for unit members to take on cases in their own time, things got out of control when Ruzek was unable to suppress his police impulses long enough to refrain from shooting his service weapon at the scene and pursuing the perpetrators. Shortly after the program began, Ruzek positioned himself in the worst possible way, and that trend persisted. Watching it was basically annoying. He shouldn't have been there if they were aware that Vice and other media outlets often kept an eye on the pub. It felt like a relapse in character for a man who has made a great effort to overcome his rash and impetuous tendencies since he was so incredibly careless. But at least we could blame this on Ruzek's need to be at work in order to perform at his best and his not being at his best following the incident. Thankfully, Ruzek was not suffering from PTSD, and his recovery from his gunshot wasn't more of the same as it was for Kim since they approached his recovery differently. And that's a comfort since everyone responds to situations like that in a different way, and it's wonderful to see all those perspectives presented. It also demonstrates that, despite his propensity for dangerous behavior, a man like Ruzek wouldn't have the same degree of PTSD as Kim Burgess had and might survive a shooting without suffering psychologically or emotionally. But all of this exacerbated some of his more annoying characteristics. In many respects, the hour was ironically humorous. Voight was hilarious to hear from when he got the call since he is always covering for a teammate. It's no wonder his hair hasn't turned completely white between Hailey, Jay, and Ruzek alone, and that's not even taking into consideration everything he accomplishes on his own. Considering his past experiences with Justin and Aaron, Hank Voight is beginning to feel a lot like a single father of several misbehaving children that get into trouble at every step. But since they essentially took it from him, he can't even be angry about any of it, can he? Given that they caught the case, he would have done better alerting the crew up front to what was happening. They would have gladly filled in for Ruzek, so nothing would have changed. For more, subscribe.